My name is Rachel Chin, and I learned the hard way that family and business don't always mix. From the moment I could walk, Chin Global Enterprises felt like my second home. While other kids played with dolls, I sat in my grandfather's office, watching him build an empire from the ground up. "Remember, little bird," he'd say, his sharp eyes twinkling behind wire-rimmed glasses. "In business, what people see isn't always what is." At the time, I didn't realize he was teaching me the most valuable lesson of my life. Unlike my cousins, who flaunted their wealth with luxury cars and designer clothes, I took the bus and worked part-time at our smallest warehouse, learning the business from the ground up. "Why do you let her embarrass us like this?" my Uncle Victor would grumble to Grandpa. "A Chin shouldn't be working like a common laborer." Grandpa only smiled. Everyone has their own path. No one resented me more than my cousin James. "Look at the charity case," he'd sneer at family gatherings, trying to prove she belongs. What they didn't know was that every summer since I was 12, Grandpa had privately tutored me in business strategy, finance, and leadership. While they partied on yachts, I studied market trends and corporate governance. "Why keep it a secret?" I once asked. He patted my hand. "Sometimes, little bird, the best way to learn who people really are is to let them underestimate you." By 25, I had an MBA and an intimate understanding of every aspect of Chin Global Enterprises, from warehouse logistics to international operations. Then came Grandpa's diagnosis. The cancer was aggressive. Within months, he was confined to his bed in the family mansion. Suddenly, my cousins became dutiful visitors, eager to share updates on their supposed business triumphs. "The Shanghai deal is moving perfectly," James would boast. But my warehouse contacts told a different story. Shipments were delayed, supply chains were crumbling. "Our new tech division is changing everything," Victoria claimed. Meanwhile, IT staff quietly complained about outdated systems and mismanaged budgets. I visited Grandpa late at night, long after they'd left. We talked about real business challenges, employee morale, expansion strategies, supply chain bottlenecks. He never spoke of his pain, but I saw it in his eyes. One night, he gripped my hand tighter than usual. "Promise me something, little bird." "Anything, Grandpa. Don't let them see you coming." A week later, he was gone. The funeral was a spectacle of performative grief. Uncle Victor wept loudly about carrying on Father's legacy, while James and Victoria competed to tell stories about their special bond with Grandpa. I sat quietly in the back, mourning the man who had been more father than grandfather to me. Then came the emergency board meeting 3 days later. "As new CEO, my first action is restructuring the executive team," Uncle Victor announced. "James will be CEO, Victoria, CFO." I raised my hand. "Shouldn't we wait for the will reading?" Laughter rippled through the room. "Oh, honey," Victoria smirked. "This isn't kindergarten. You don't need to raise your hand. And you don't need to be here at all," James added. "This is a board meeting, not a warehouse inventory check." Uncle Victor's expression turned pitying. "Rachel, I know Father let you dabble in the business, but the company needs strong leadership. It's best you move on." "So you're firing me from my warehouse position?" I asked, voice steady. "Consider it a kindness," James said, grinning. "Maybe try something simpler, dog walking, perhaps?" More laughter. Some board members looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. "All in favor of terminating Rachel Chin's employment with Chin Global Enterprises?" Uncle Victor asked. Every hand went up, except mine. "It's unanimous, then," he said smugly. "Rachel, clear out your locker by end of day. Security will escort you." I stood slowly. Funny, the will reading is scheduled for. I checked my watch. Right now, actually. The door swung open. Mr. Zhang, Grandpa's longtime lawyer, stepped inside, carrying a thick envelope and a USB drive. His face was unreadable. "Perfect timing," Uncle Victor said, smirking. "Now, about Father's shares." "Actually, Mr. Zhang interrupted. And just like that, the real game began. "I believe this meeting is premature," Mr. Zhang said, his voice calm but firm. "The late Mr. Chin's will contain specific instructions regarding company leadership." He inserted a USB drive into the conference room's display system. Grandpa's face appeared on the screen, his expression as sharp as ever. "Well," he began, "if you're watching this, I'm no longer with you, and knowing my son Victor, he's already called a board meeting to seize control." Uncle Victor stiffened, his face darkening. "Let me be clear," Grandpa continued. "For the past 15 years, I've been quietly transferring my shares into a blind trust. As of my death, this trust owns 75% of Chin Global Enterprises, and its sole trustee and beneficiary is my granddaughter, Rachel. The room erupted. "This is impossible," James shouted. "It's a forgery," Victoria shrieked. Uncle Victor had gone deathly pale. Grandpa's recorded gaze twinkled with amusement. "Rachel has spent years learning every part of this business, while some of you played executives. She worked. She's earned the respect of our employees at all levels. She is not just the majority shareholder, she is the new CEO of Chin Global Enterprises." Mr. Zhang paused the video and handed out documents. "These papers confirm the share transfer and Rachel's appointment, verified by 3 independent law firms." I rose, smoothing my skirt. "Now, about that restructuring." Uncle Victor wavered in his chair. This isn't over." I turned to James. "About the Shanghai delays, I've already spoken with logistics. We're implementing a new tracking system next week." "Victoria, the IT upgrade you've been blocking? Contracts are signed. Work starts Monday." "You can't do this," Victoria gasped. "We're family." "Exactly," I said coolly, "and family supports each other, not mocks, not steals." The next morning, I arrived at Chin Global Enterprises at 6 a.m. Security had already updated my clearance. Ted, the head of security, smiled as he handed me my new access card. "About time, Miss Chin. Your grandfather would be proud." My phone buzzed, dozens of missed calls from family members who had never cared to call before. "Uncle Victor, this is a mistake. You're destroying our legacy." "James, you'll regret this. I have dirt that could ruin everything." "Victoria, please, cousin, we can work something out. Name your price." "Aunt Margaret, think of your cousin's children. They were counting on their inheritances." I silenced the phone and stepped into Grandpa's, now my, office. Everything remained untouched, including the small photo of us on his desk. 12-year-old me, beaming in oversized safety gear, standing beside him in a warehouse. Mr. Zhang arrived an hour later, a thick folder in hand. "Your cousin's lawyers are already filing challenges to the will," he said, "and there's something else you should see." Inside the folder were records, unauthorized transactions, inflated expense reports, suspicious offshore accounts. The signatures? James, Victoria, Uncle Victor. "Grandpa knew?" I asked. "He knew everything," Mr. Zhang said. "He waited, hoping they'd take responsibility. They never did." "How much?" "Conservative estimate? 20 million over 5 years. 20 million, while employees went without raises, while safety upgrades were too expensive, while my cousins lived like royalty." I exhaled. "Call the forensic accountants. I want every penny traced." That evening, I walked into Uncle Victor's mansion for a family emergency meeting. "Be reasonable, Rachel," Uncle Victor pleaded. "Keep the shares if you must, but let us handle daily operations." "Like you've handled the finances?" I asked, sliding copies of the records across the table. The color drained from their faces. Those were approved expenses," James stammered. I tilted my head. "Really? The company covered your Macau gambling debts? Victoria's secret apartment in Vancouver? Uncle Victor's offshore accounts?" Aunt Margaret clutched her pearls. "Think of what this will do to our reputation." I met their stunned silence with a steady gaze. "You should have thought of that before stealing from your own father's company," I replied on behalf of the employees who trusted you. Victoria's voice was small. "What do you want? Money? A position on the board?" I met her gaze. "I want what Grandpa wanted, a company that operates with integrity, that takes care of its people, that earns its success." "And if we refuse to resign?" Uncle Victor challenged. I stood, smoothing my jacket. "Then these files go to the police tomorrow morning. Your choice." The next day, they resigned. All 3 signed ironclad NDAs in exchange for avoiding criminal charges. The condition? Full repayment of every stolen penny, with interest. The company's transformation began immediately. Wages increased, safety equipment was upgraded, and outdated systems were modernized. Employee morale soared, productivity followed. 6 months later, Chin Global Enterprises' profits had risen by 30%. Business magazines that once dismissed us as outdated now called us a model for ethical leadership. Then came the invitation, the Asian Business Leadership Awards. We had been nominated for Most Improved Corporate Culture. The night of the ceremony, I wore a simple black dress. As I accepted the award, I spotted familiar faces at a distant table. Uncle Victor, James, and Victoria. Their expressions were a mix of anger and regret. Later, Victoria approached me alone. I'd been in therapy, she admitted. I never thanked you for not pressing charges. It wasn't for you, I said. It was for Grandpa. He always hoped you'd learn. She hesitated. The company, the education programs for employees' children, the health benefits, he would have loved that. I nodded. Grandpa always believed business was about more than profit. A year after taking control, I started a new tradition, Take Your Child to Work Day. Watching employees proudly show their kids around, including the warehouses, I thought of my own journey. Uncle Victor and James still tried to stir up trouble, spreading rumors, attempting to sway board members, but their credibility was gone. The company's success spoke louder than their words ever could. Last week, I found an old notebook in Grandpa's desk. Inside, in his handwriting, "My little bird, when they see you soar, they'll understand why I taught you to fly close to the ground first. Success isn't proving others wrong, it's proving yourself right. All my love, Grandpa." That notebook sits on my desk now, beside a photo of 12-year-old me in the warehouse, a reminder that true leadership isn't about power, it's about responsibility, integrity, and lifting others as you rise. Next month is our annual charity gala. This year's theme? Building Future Leaders. We're launching a scholarship for employees' children who want to study business, named in honor of my grandfather. Yesterday, I overheard a longtime warehouse worker telling his daughter, "See that office up there? Our CEO started right here, just like us. In this company, anyone can rise if they work hard and stay honest." I smiled, knowing Grandpa would have loved that. Sometimes, late at night in my office, I look out over the city lights and think of that little girl in oversized safety gear. She didn't know she was training to be CEO, she just wanted to make her grandfather proud. The latest company photo hangs on the wall, our entire workforce, from executives to janitors, all wearing the same company t-shirts. In the front row, I'm not standing above anyone. I'm standing with them. Because that's what Grandpa taught me, leadership isn't about standing above others. It's about lifting them up to stand with you. And that's a legacy worth more than any inheritance.